All right, we're rolling. In 3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bartle, coming at you with another edition of Bartle's Breakdown. I'm your host, and I've got a special guest on with me today, Nicholas Baer of Iowa Hawkeyes fame, now professional basketball player. Nicholas, how are you doing today?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining, man. I really appreciate it. You back home in Iowa now due to the quarantine, correct?
Correct. Yep, I'm back in Bettendorf, yeah.
How does it feel right now to not be playing basketball? I mean, this is our time. You know, when you college, it's March Madness, and then pro ball. You're starting to gear up towards the playoffs. How are you feeling and dealing with all this?
Yeah, it's tough. I think for any basketball player, basketball fan, March is a sacred month. So I think it's definitely a really strange way to end a season or have a season suspended. But obviously, you got to do the right thing for the population, make sure everybody's safe. But it's just difficult having something that you just is always constantly there. Like you're constantly playing. Like you're in the middle of the season, you're in the rhythm, and then all of a sudden, it all comes to a screeching halt. So that's a little difficult. But professionally, just because we were really making our playoff push, we were a half game out with I think like 7 games ago. We were right there. So
wow.
It was just like, and then like 3 days later, back home. So that's how it goes. But yeah, I think everybody's trying to adapt, and we're all trying to figure it out.
You know what, Nicholas, we'll definitely get into that, man. I want to start at the beginning, though, because I think your story is fascinating. And how did you first get involved with basketball? Was there was it your neighborhood? How did you first become accomplice to the game?
Yeah, I always just grew up playing. As for as long as I can remember, I was always playing. And, most of the times, to be honest with you, it wasn't really, like organized type of stuff. It was, I'm one of 5 kids. So it was a lot of times just like stuff in the backyard, like playing with my brother, playing with my dad, playing with my sisters, like just out shooting. And I think basketball's always been a constant in my life, and it's always been something that's been a big part for me. And I guess like in the beginning, like there's no necessarily like one point where it's like, oh man, like this is my thing forever. It's always been something that I've always done.
So you grew up in Bettendorf, Iowa, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so I played in the Quad Cities, the old Quad City Thunder.
That's right.
Yeah, familiar with that area. Right. So you're playing in high school, and you're starting to grow, and you're starting to get some opportunities. How did you choose Iowa out of the other opportunities that were available?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, I had one scholarship offer, and that was to Northwest Missouri State, who's Division II powerhouse. I mean, it feels like every time they're playing on CBS in the championship game, and I had a scholarship offer there, and then I had walk-on opportunities to Iowa, and Drake. And I think for me, like the biggest decision part was just an Iowa Hawkeye fan. I grew up, wanted to play there, and that really was a huge selling point for me. And I remember on my visits and sitting down with Coach McCaffery, and I just remember him saying, if we have a spot for you, but like if you want it, you got to earn it. Anything that happens, hand it to you, but like you have a position, and from there just run with it, that you get type of thing. So I've always appreciated Coach McCaffery. To my parents too, it would have been easy for them to say, hey, here's a scholarship offer, and we're not necessarily worried about walking on, having to pitch in and all that stuff. And I've always able to, for my parents to say, this is your dream, go after it.
Okay. And then so you were a Hawkeyes fan growing up, so the fervor of the Hawkeye nation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I always grew up just going to like Hawkeye football games all the time, Hawkeye basketball. I was at, I remember when Coach Carver first got here, when it was first day against Dayton at home, and that was rocking. And I was there for that, and like just like as a fan, I was like, wow, this is like Iowa basketball is like way back. This is great.
Okay. And so you get there, Coach McCaffery tells you straight up, hey, you got to earn whatever you get. You come in as a walk-on. Where do you get that confidence, Nicholas, to be able to compete and know that you belong? You did a fantastic job throughout your career, but what was it about first getting to Iowa and knowing that you belonged even though you were a walk-on?
Yeah, I think just going to my first season, I kept saying to myself, I got to do something that no one else does. I have to find a way to bring to the table in order to like get on the court or make an impact. And for me, that was playing with as much energy as possible, going after, coming up with all the balls. And I think going from there, because when I campus, I was watching these guys on TV, like just whatever, so 4 or 6 months before playing in the tournament, playing Big Ten, and I always just thought like Aaron Tough, like almost like superheroes, Superman. But like then you play, and, oh, I can. They're clearly better than me, but like I can hang, like I can like a little bit. So I think I just got some confidence in that, and that redshirt year was really important for me just to develop. And I thought I had a really good experience my first year.
And so you see that you belong and you are playing with a ton of energy, defense, rebounding, doing your thing, really creating a niche. Was there a player that you looked to as you were developing to kind of pattern your game after?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like growing up, I was always a big like fundamental person, like big into that. I thought like our just like programs did a really nice job of like harping on that stuff, like jump stops, and grew up like watching a lot of like Tim Duncan type stuff, which is kind of now I guess. I mean, he's like big fundamental, and someone I always like. Feel like he's like the other thing that was really great about him is he's so consistent. Like you knew what you were getting every night from him. So I like that. I think just as I like my college career, I would just try to pick different things that I saw teammates do, like just getting to go up against Jared Utoff and Peter Jock, like two of probably the best like one-on-one players I've played with, and just like going up like against them like one-on-one every day or like after practice, just kind of picking up on certain moves they had them a little bit better. But players that I had around me were people that I looked to improve my game for sure.
Okay. And then for our viewers that are around the Big Ten and around the country who will be seeing this, can you explain the love affair that the Iowa Hawkeye fans have with Hawkeye basketball? Can you explain Carver Hawkeye Arena for them?
I can try, but it won't do it justice, I guess.
Right.
It's it's very special, I think, especially when we get into Big Ten play. Like games are sold out, that place gets loud, and I think some of like my best moments in college and probably in my life have been like when we're like going on a run in Carver Hawkeye Arena. And I think when you're on like a 7-0, 10-0 run, you hit a big three, that place is rocking, and those are the moments like you live for. Those are the moments you play for, because like it's great obviously when the people are there, but there's a lot of times where like you're in the gym by yourself, so like you gotta be like working on your own game, and like or like you have a bad loss, and when things do go, like you gotta enjoy the highs when they're high because the lows are pretty low. So I think it's important to do that, and I think that's what Iowa did for me. It was just being able to like have that opportunity to really enjoy those special moments.
And Nicholas, what was it like playing for Fran McCaffery?
Man, I love that man. That is my guy. I think something I always appreciate about him is like he's a genuine dude. I think anyone who's like ever come across him like knows how genuine he is. And I think, for me personally, I always just appreciated like live out my dream at the University of Iowa. I've always been appreciative. I think no one's ever going to question that he goes to bat for his players, sometimes at the expense of a technical foul. But you know what? That's how it goes. I always appreciated that and never had to doubt that. And I think he's someone that I've always really appreciated and has definitely like shaped my life for the better. And he's just like he's like one of those coaches like you got like so many like just like I'll be like going through like my everyday stuff and like something happened and like coaches like expression pops in my head. Like he's got like tons of things like that, and I think coaches do. So I thought it was a good experience there, and I've always been appreciative of Coach McCaffery.
He really appreciated what you brought to the program. I remember reading something where he was talking about you your senior year, and he got a little emotional because he was explaining how your start and what you've done throughout your career, and now to be picked up playing professionally. So you make the transition. You finish your senior year. Did you know that you would have opportunities? Did you have opportunities overseas and different things like that?
Yeah, I knew after my senior year, I knew I wanted to play basketball professionally. I think, if I have an opportunity to play as a pro and make money playing basketball, that's something that I definitely want to do as long as I can. And thankfully, I had that opportunity this year. I had one offer to go play overseas in Austria. And I thought I was kind of weighing between going over there, which the league's not necessarily as strong as the G League, for sure. The G League's definitely a stronger league. And I thought that just having a chance to go play, that's the cool thing about the G League. Like, you got players coming in and out of the NBA. We had guys coming down to play with us in the NBA. So, like, there was, like, one night, like, Stanley Johnson, Matt Thomas, like, a bunch of Raptors came down and play with us, and just getting a chance to, like, interact with them, learn from them. And I thought that experience, being able to play against people at that high of a level, even if maybe my role wasn't as big, I thought that was more valuable than maybe going and playing in a lower league and being like a primary scorer. I thought for me, like, my overall long-term, goals, I think being in the G League helped that.
So you're with the Toronto 905.
Raptors 905.
Raptors 905.
Yep.
And I tell you what, I played in the CBA, which is the precursor to the G League. We never had a franchise anywhere close to a city like Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's my favorite city, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I go to Toronto every year.
Yeah. Okay. I did not know that.
Can you talk about your experience in the city overall?
Yeah, I mean, I love Toronto. It was great. We're in Mississauga, Ontario, which is like 15 minutes outside Toronto. It's like right outside. So something I always appreciate about Toronto is just like there's a lot of different walks of life. It's a very diverse group. There's a lot of different restaurants, like whatever food you want to have, like whether it's like Mexican, Italian, Afghan, like whatever, Pakistan, like whatever you want to try, there's plenty of restaurants there. I always appreciated that. And as far as basketball went, I mean, there are like cities in the G League where like maybe it's not as glamorous, or like you're not in like a close to such a metropolitan city. So being able to go live there, and also live in a different country. I know it's Canada, it's a little different. Just to live there, and I think that was a good experience for me, and I really loved it.
Can you explain, Nicholas, to our viewers how competitive the G League is? Because what happens, I think a lot of fans, they kind of pay attention to the guys that get to the NBA and kind of pay attention to that, but they don't understand how competitive and how tough the G League really is. Can you share some light on that?
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception, is that the G League is like a trash league, or it's like not a respectable league. But really, I mean, getting a chance to like play and like go through the ringer, like there's a lot of good players in there, and there's a lot of I think it's improved a lot over the last few years as well. I mean, for example, like we were playing Joel Berry. I mean, like he's playing with Greensboro Swarm, and I just remember like he was like coming off the bench for them, and I was like, he's on that, like he was in the national championship team, like he's like playing big time minutes like for North Carolina, and like that's just like the type of thing, like that's how tough this league is. It's like a bunch of like people you see in college like coming in and out and just trying to adjust to the pro game. And I think that was something that was always like interesting for me, getting a chance to interact with our two ways going that are with like the parent team, but also come down and play with us and getting to like see their experiences. And I think I mean, also like the aspect of pro basketball is that like there's guys get cut, guys get traded. Like there's, especially like in thing over, I mean, it's our shorter season. Short, so it was like a 4-month season. We had 23 different guys on our roster. So like there's like that much like fluidity, that much either guys are getting traded, guys are getting cut, or like whatever happens. So that's the thing about the G League that I think I learned the most, is being able to, like, it's really important to be able to adapt quickly to like maybe one night we had a bunch of guys, like our centers were hurt. I was like the biggest guy, so I played 37 minutes at the center at like 5-man, and like 37 minutes, like sign me up for that. That was awesome. And then the next night, like they sent down 3 Raptors, and I didn't play. So like that's just like type of like being able to handle that aspect as a pro is something that I really appreciate. And I thought I learned a lot too.
Wow, I mean, you said a lot right there, Nicholas, and I'm glad you shared that, because people really don't understand the fluid nature of those rosters, and guys coming in, guys coming out, people getting hurt, and you're able to maintain a certain mental toughness. Where does that come from?
I think that I remember like playing a certain way. I think I've always done that at Bettendorf. I think our youth programs really did a good job of that, like understanding that like our high school level, like our sophomore level, like if you're gonna get on the floor, it didn't necessarily matter like how talented you were. Like you were gonna have to play a certain way.
Mm.
And I think I've always like just remembered that, and I've always stuck with that. I think also just like my experiences at Iowa, like I mean, there's like definitely like highs and lows like throughout every career, and I think our coaches did a really good job of like training us to understand, like take one game at a time, being able to like understand what your role is in order to succeed. So I'd say probably just like those two things. Yeah.
And so you're going through your season, and you know you're preparing yourself as a pro. Did you get a chance to watch Iowa play much this season? This
I
past.
watched as often as I could. Pretty much, if we weren't playing, I was watching. So I missed a few games just because we had like a few games at the same time. But I mean, Luka Garza's must-see TV anyways. Like I hope everybody was watching anyway. But yeah, I loved watching them. I thought they had a phenomenal year. I was really excited to see what they were going to do in March, and I think like there's definitely like there's obviously like a different group. There's a lot of new guys this year. I guess really having to step up, and I just loved like the swagger they played with. Like they were like I've never like seen a team like so much like flexing, like so much like just swag that they played with. And I mean, I guess you got like National Player of the Year candidate, like that gives you a lot of confidence too. So I love seeing that. I love seeing like how they all play together. And I mean, oh man, I miss those rivalry games too. So you went to Illinois, and I remember like that's always like a big rivalry game, and I feel like that's really been picking up this past year or two for sure.
Yeah, that was the two that they played were classic, man. Yeah, it was classic. It was physical too.
Those are big boy basketball games.
Do you still keep in touch with any of the guys on the team?
Yeah, I do. I'm just being 1 year removed, and I mean my brother's still on the team, so I still like get to talk to him, quite a bit, and I always check in, just like seeing how like guys are doing or all that type of stuff. But I mean I also understand like they're in the midst of their season, but I mean I think I've always appreciated that Coach McCaffery always recruits like great people, so like being able to like stay in touch with these guys like something that's always been like really easy. So really happy for the success they had this year. Obviously would have loved to see how they would have finished, but I think they got a lot to be proud of. And the toughest conference in the nation, by the way. Toughest conference in the nation.
No question about it. It was so deep. It was as deep as I've seen in a couple decades. So
yeah,
incredible. Are you going to go back to Iowa City and work out in the summertime in preparation for your next season?
Yeah, I'm back home right now and hoping all this everything with COVID-19 settles down here hopefully soon, and I'd like to go back to Iowa City. I think just being able to have access to those facilities and being able to go up and down with the guys there, and I mean you're gonna have a tough time finding better pickup games than those ones in Iowa City. So getting a chance to go up there, and I'm not sure where I'm gonna live yet. I gotta find a place to live, but we'll figure that out. So that'll be all good. But yeah, I mean I love Iowa City, and I think it's probably the best place for me this summer until I find out where I'm going next year.
If you could have a message that you would tell Iowa fans, what would it be?
A message I could tell Iowa fans?
Yeah. Just overall about your experience or how they made you feel or how you feel about them?
Sure. I think what I want Iowa fans to know is like I always appreciate how special like the state of Iowa is, because I think there's something that's unique about Iowa is like it's a state with no professional sports teams. They treat their college teams like their pro sport teams. And I think from my experience being able to like go like throughout the state and have people say, oh, like we love watching play, or like I remember this game or that game, and I think that's what makes the state of Iowa special, and I think that's what makes Iowa fans special as well. Like they're just like true like passion and love for Iowa athletics and University of Iowa, and that's something that I feel like however it could be 10 years from now, 15 years from now, like 30 years from now, I'm always going to be like an Iowa Hawkeye. Like I'll always have that, and I'll always treasure that as being part of the state of Iowa.
Well said, Nicholas. Are you active on social media at all?
I am. Yep. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram, I think just Nicholas Baer. I think that's it. Keep it simple. So and Twitter, Nicholas_Baer. Yep. So I'm active on there, and always just kind of fun to see what people are saying. And I know we have a lot of Iowa basketball players who are active on there as well, so it's always good to see what they're saying too.
Okay. Well, Nicholas, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck in your career. You were one of my favorite players to cover because you played the right way. You played hard. You were a great teammate. I don't think you're a trash talker, but you're one of those guys.
Not yet.
Say it again.
We'll find that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I tell you, this is the greatest compliment I can give guys like yourself. I'd hate to play against you, but I'd love to have you on my team.
I
So,
appreciate that.
yeah, so thanks so much, Nicholas. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I had a great time.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Bartle's Breakdown. Make sure you check back on the page. We'll have great interviews like this, and we'll get through this COVID-19 situation together. So do the safety protocol, wash your hands, and stay safe. Check on your family members, all right? Until next time, that'll do it for Bartle's Breakdown. Peace. Nicholas, thanks so much, man. You were great.